My daughter, Meredith, said I was a burden. Too slow, too old, too dependent. Without asking, she placed me in a care facility and moved into my house like I was already gone. But I wasn't finished, and while she thought I'd disappear quietly, I planned something else, something she would live with for the rest of her life. I raised Meredith with everything I had after my husband died. I worked long hours as a janitor, skipped meals to feed her, even sold my wedding ring to help pay her tuition. I never asked for thanks. I just believed love would come back around when I needed it. Then one morning, I fainted in my kitchen, probably low blood sugar. That evening, Meredith and her husband Brian came over, full of rehearsed concern. "We just want what's best for you," Meredith said. They offered to help with my affairs. They asked about bank accounts, utility bills, the deed to the house. I didn't know they were telling neighbors I was losing my mind. I didn't know they had spoken to a lawyer, and I definitely didn't know Meredith had scheduled a locksmith. A week later, they invited me to lunch. I wore my cardigan and didn't even bring my purse. They dropped me off at a nursing home. Beige walls, plastic plants, antiseptic in the air. "It's just temporary," Meredith said. "A few days to rest." They hugged me and left, but they didn't come back. When I asked to call my daughter, the nurse said I'd need to wait until visiting hours. She showed me a form. My name was there, so was Meredith's signature. She had filed papers claiming I was confused and unsafe alone. I sat on that bed and shook with disbelief. I wasn't delusional. I wasn't dying. I was betrayed. After 3 days, I was finally allowed to use the phone. I called Meredith. Voicemail. I tried again. Blocked. Brian? Blocked. I looked around at the others in the facility. People lost in thought, some yelling into space, others drooling into their bibs. Was this how it ended for me, after everything I'd given? That night, I asked for a notebook. Told the nurse I liked journaling. She smiled and brought one. But I didn't write poetry. I wrote a war plan. I listed names, account numbers, contacts. One stood out, my lawyer, Rochelle Eastman. We hadn't spoken in years, but I knew she never removed me from her client list. The next morning, I called. "Rochelle, this is Judith Harlow. I believe my daughter has committed fraud and placed me here against my will. I still have legal documents. Please, call me." She called back within hours. "Judith, are you safe?" "As safe as I can be when my daughter locks me away." Rochelle drove in that Friday. She walked into the nursing home with thunder in her voice and a leather briefcase in hand. "You're not staying here another night," she said, "and if they fight us, we'll bury them in court." We reviewed everything. Documents Meredith forged, bank accounts she tried to seize. She had no legal power of attorney. The house, still in my name. And the joint account? She didn't know I still had access. Rochelle filed an emergency motion to revoke the forged documents. We had medical confirmation I was mentally sound. We froze the joint account and filed a case for elder abuse. I walked out of that home with a new coat Rochelle bought me and never looked back. We didn't return to my house. Rochelle rented us a hotel suite while we figured out next steps. Then, we filed a legal petition to force the sale of the property Meredith now occupied illegally. They got the court papers at 7 a.m. Tuesday. I didn't need to be there to enjoy the reaction. The process server told us Meredith screamed. Brian slammed the door. That night, Meredith called. "Mom, this has to be a mistake." "You mean the house you stole? You're kicking me out?" "You kicked me out first." I hung up. I sold the house 2 weeks later to a young couple expecting their first baby. They loved the kitchen, loved the yard, said it felt like a home ready for love again. After the sale, Rochelle turned to me. "Now what?" "We wait," I said, and we did. Then I bought the house next door. A small cottage, but all mine. I paid in full. The day I moved in, I sat on the porch with my tea. Meredith stepped out of her door and froze. She turned around and went right back inside. I didn't wave. I just enjoyed the view. Noah, my grandson, showed up that weekend. He hesitated at the porch, then knocked. "Can I sit with you?" We talked. Ate dinner. He told me, "They said you had dementia, but you don't." "No, sweetheart, I never did." I told him the truth, that I'd bought the house to remind Meredith what she threw away. He smirked. "You're colder than I thought, Grandma." I laughed for the first time in weeks. Noah started coming more often. He asked to stay weekends. Then he just stayed. Meredith avoided me. One day she yelled at Brian in their driveway. 2 days later she left, packed her things into her car, and drove away. No goodbyes. Brian sat on the porch for hours that evening, alone, silent. I didn't say a word. I rewrote my will. Noah would inherit everything: the house, the savings, even a trust for school. Meredith got nothing. The rest would go into a fund I created, the Harlow Legacy Grant, for elder women abandoned by their families. I made the first donation, $50,000. 2 months later, Meredith called after finding out she'd been written out. "You're really cutting me off?" "No," I said. "You did that yourself when you signed me away like I didn't matter." She didn't respond. "I forgive you," I said, "but forgiveness doesn't mean inheritance." I hung up. A month later, Brian moved out too. Quietly, no fuss. The for sale sign came down after 2 weeks. Noah had made my house his home. He joined a school gardening club, asked to plant tomatoes with me. I said yes. One morning, I got a call from the community center. They invited me to speak about elder rights and financial abuse. I stood before a group of older women and said, "They'll call you a burden. They'll say you're fading, but you are the ones who carry generations. If they forget that, remind them, not with anger, but with the truth, and with law." They applauded. A woman hugged me afterward and whispered, "Thank you for reminding me I'm not crazy." That night, Noah and I baked cookies. I looked around the cozy little house. The one I once feared was a downgrade, but it wasn't smaller, it was freer, and I wasn't at the end, I was at the beginning.